BB's question number 3. BB, you did good this time, buddy. Look at that. He had 1, 2 up here and then 3 way down here. So BB is coming around. He says, when is the break point of long form content? Meaning which scenarios would we silo and when do we do long form content, which answers and touches on all the subjects on the same topic? Okay, that's a great question for right after what Jason asked. And this is it's a great question. Perfect timing, BB. And here's why I like that, because in the past, I would do complex silos because, for example, Jason, rodent control, let's say there's, mouse control or mouse extermination or whatever. Maybe rats would be different. Maybe squirrels would be different. I don't know. Is a squirrel really a rodent? I don't know, but whatever. Voles or moles, right? Those are also different types of rodents. So if you think about a complex silo structure, if you were to do pest control, let's say rodent control would be your top level category, but then you could have subcategories for mouse control, rat control, mole control, right? Let's just, I don't do all this kind of pest control stuff, but let's say you did that. So you'd have subcategories for each one of them. In that case, I might have a shorter form content on the top level silo page, which would be rodent control, general rodent control. And then I would have separate pages for each one of the sub silos or subcategories that would be the landing pages for specifically mouse control, rat control, mole control, right? And then, so that would be longer form content, but specific about each one of those types of services. Why? The way that I do it now, which will answer your question, BB, is I create one long form page about rodent control that covers all of those. Instead of creating subcategories for mouse control, rat control, mole control, I would have headings on that long form content that would cover each one of them. By the way, I like to use a table of contents plugin for long form content so that there's a table of contents that automatically creates jump links to those section headers, because those now become additional target link building targets or content marketing targets that you can get very specific. So instead of having subcategories, you can link directly to the section on the long form content page on a simple silo structure setup. Does that make sense? So I would use long form content with table of contents at the top that will create jump links to the section headers on the page that cover each of the what would be subcategories. If you did a complex silo, I would keep on the one long form content page for rodent control. And then where I would, then you can add supporting content as posts, and you can link back. Like, so again, let's say that mole control was the last service mentioned on the long form page for on a simple silo structure setup for rodent control. Then let's say instead of having a subcategory for mole control, you would, for supporting articles, you would publish posts about mole control plus city. Let's say you've got 3 different cities that you're targeting. So you would have mole control plus city 1, mole control plus city 2, whatever those names are. And with the internal link from the post would be the jump link to that section on the page on the long form content on the landing page for rodent control. Does that make sense? So essentially you're still siloing it, but you're doing it in a simple silo structure setup, and you're doing it with long form content. And that's the way that I do it. And again, by the way, you could even take the content if you don't want a 2,500 word article, because that might scare people away, which I don't care. But if you have like a 25 word article for rodent control, for example, that could be a really long scroll, right? But that's why you put a table of contents plugin at the top, because it'll jump directly to that section, number 1. But number 2, you could just make the first paragraph visible under each section header, and then add it to the rest of the content for that particular section as like an accordion, right? So you click a plus button or whatever, and all of a sudden it expands and shows the rest of the content. That's fine too. As long as the content's visible to the user, even if they have to click a button to see it, it's still there. Does that make sense?